Deep in the impenetrable heart of the Amazon rainforest, where ancient spirits whisper through emerald canopies and time itself seems suspended, lives a people whose most sacred ritual would shock the modern world into silence. Imagine consuming the cremated remains of your beloved family members, not out of desperation or madness, but as the most profound act of love and spiritual preservation known to humankind. The Yanomami people practice ritual endocannibalism. They eat the ashes of their dead. But before you recoil in horror, pause and consider this. What if everything you thought you knew about death, about love, about the very essence of human existence, was merely a fragmented reflection of a deeper truth that these forest guardians have protected for millennia? Ethnographic records reveal that 35,000 Yanomami souls inhabit one of Earth's last untouched wilderness domains, scattered across 250 villages spanning the borderlands between Venezuela and Brazil. These are not primitive savages, as colonial minds might dismiss them, but sophisticated cultural engineers who have developed survival adaptation mechanisms so advanced that modern civilization appears primitive by comparison. Cultural extinction probability data indicates that we stand at a crossroads. Every day that passes without understanding their ancestral knowledge systems represents an irreversible loss to human consciousness itself. The Yanomami possess secrets that could revolutionize our understanding of life, death, and the invisible threads that bind all existence together. But why do they consume their dead? What ancient wisdom drives this practice that seems to violate every instinct of civilized behavior? And most disturbing of all, what does their ritual reveal about the fundamental nature of human consciousness that we have forgotten? The first revelation strikes at the core of our assumptions about mortality itself. Anthropological anomalies suggest that the Yanomami do not view death as a natural occurrence. Their cosmological framework operates on a premise that would shatter Western medical understanding. Death is always caused by malevolent spiritual intervention, specifically by enemy shamans who dispatch evil spirits to claim victims from rival communities. This is not superstition. This is a sophisticated understanding of mortality that recognizes death as a violent disruption of natural order, requiring immediate spiritual intervention to restore cosmic balance. When a Yanomami person dies, their community doesn't merely mourn. They launch into an elaborate ritual sequence designed to protect the deceased's spirit and ensure its successful transition to the ancestral realm. Consider the precision of their mortuary process. The body is wrapped in leaves and placed in the forest at a calculated distance from the shabono, their circular communal dwelling. For exactly 30 to 45 days, insects consume the soft tissue while the community maintains spiritual vigilance. This is not disposal of remains. This is the first phase of a complex spiritual technology that transforms physical matter into consumable essence. The second revelation concerns their understanding of spiritual contamination. Genetic isolation coefficients indicate that the Yanomami have maintained cultural purity for over 2 millennia, developing ritualistic symbiosis with their environment that includes profound knowledge about spiritual transmission through material objects. Every personal possession of the deceased must be burned, as these items may harbor malevolent spirits that could contaminate the living community. But here's where their wisdom transcends our understanding of matter and consciousness. Ancient oral traditions suggest that consuming the cremated ashes doesn't represent cannibalism in any recognizable sense. It represents the ultimate act of spiritual preservation. The deceased's essence becomes permanently integrated into the living community, ensuring that their knowledge, their spiritual power, and their protective influence continue to guard future generations. The cremated bone ash is mixed with fermented banana soup and consumed by the entire community. This is not a meal. This is a sacrament that transforms individual death into collective immortality. The ashes may be preserved in gourds, and this ritual repeated annually until every trace of the physical remains has been integrated into the living community. Survival adaptation data indicates something even more remarkable. In cases where warriors die in battle with enemy tribes, only the women consume the ashes, and only on the night when revenge raids are planned. The deceased warrior's spirit cannot achieve peace until their death has been avenged, so the ash consumption is deliberately delayed, keeping the warrior's spiritual energy active in the material realm until justice is achieved. This reveals a sophisticated understanding of consciousness that modern neuroscience is only beginning to approach. The Yanomami have developed a technology of death that recognizes awareness as a transferable essence that can be preserved, redirected, and strategically deployed for community survival. The third revelation involves their shamanic healing ceremony, known as Yawarikuri. These rituals represent one of the most advanced spiritual technologies ever documented by anthropological research. Shamans enter trance states using hallucinogenic plants, establishing direct communication with the complex pantheon of spirits that inhabit their cosmological framework. But this isn't primitive drug use. This is precision consciousness engineering. The Yanomami recognize approximately 500 different plant species for medicinal, spiritual, and survival purposes. Their botanical knowledge represents a pharmaceutical database that could revolutionize modern medicine if we possessed the wisdom to understand their plant-spirit communication protocols. During healing ceremonies, shamans don't simply treat symptoms. They negotiate with the spiritual forces causing illness, offering exchanges, performing spiritual combat, and restoring the cosmic balance that maintains health. This is medicine that treats the root spiritual causes of physical manifestation, not merely the surface expressions of deeper disharmony. The fourth revelation concerns their understanding of environmental consciousness. Ethnographic evidence reveals that the Yanomami cosmology recognizes no separation between human fate and environmental health. They believe that the destruction of their forest environment would literally cause the collapse of human consciousness itself, a perspective that modern climate science is validating with disturbing accuracy. Their shifting cultivation practices aren't simply agricultural techniques. They represent a sophisticated understanding of ecological regeneration that maintains perfect balance between human needs and environmental renewal. They clear forest gardens for 2 to 3 years, then abandon them for decades, allowing complete forest recovery while they establish new cultivation sites. This rotational system extends to all their resource utilization. Their hunting, fishing, and gathering practices follow precise schedules that prevent overexploitation while maximizing nutritional diversity. They have developed survival strategies that could sustain human civilization indefinitely if we possessed their patience and their understanding of natural cycles. Women carry 70 to 80 pounds of crops during harvest season using bark straps and woven baskets, physical conditioning that would challenge elite athletes. Men hunt using curare poisoned arrows with accuracy that surpasses modern technology. But no hunter ever consumes the meat he has killed. Instead, they practice reciprocal sharing that creates community bonds stronger than any legal contract. The fifth revelation involves their social organization, which represents perhaps the most sophisticated governance system ever developed. Indigenous survival matrices show that Yanomami communities operate without chiefs, without hierarchical authority, without coercive power structures of any kind. Decisions are made by consensus through extended debates where every community member has equal voice. This isn't primitive democracy. This is advanced social technology that recognizes individual wisdom while maintaining collective coherence. Their communities range from 50 to 400 individuals, the optimal size for maintaining direct relationships while coordinating complex survival activities. Their marriage practices involve polygamous cross-cousin relationships, with the oldest wife maintaining authority over younger wives, a system that ensures genetic diversity while maintaining cultural continuity. These aren't arbitrary customs. These are precisely calibrated social mechanisms designed to optimize community survival across generations. The sixth revelation concerns their spiritual cosmology, which recognizes multiple dimensions of reality that Western science is only beginning to detect. They believe in a complex pantheon of spirits inhabiting animals, plants, celestial bodies, and geographical features. These spirits influence every aspect of life, from hunting success to community health to individual spiritual development. But this isn't superstition. This is a sophisticated recognition of the interconnected consciousness that permeates all existence. Modern quantum physics suggests that consciousness may be a fundamental property of reality itself, not merely an emergent property of complex neural networks. The Yanomami have always known this. Their shamans serve as intermediaries between multiple dimensional layers, conducting negotiations with spiritual entities that influence material reality. They understand that human consciousness exists within a vast network of interdependent awareness systems, and their rituals maintain the delicate balance that keeps these systems functioning harmoniously. The seventh revelation involves their understanding of time itself. Anthropological anomalies indicate that the Yanomami experience temporal reality differently than modern humans. Their daily conversation prohibits any reference to deceased individuals, except during annual remembrance ceremonies, when the ashes are consumed and people recall the lives of their departed relatives. This isn't mere cultural taboo. This is sophisticated time management that prevents past trauma from contaminating present awareness. By containing memories of the dead within specific ritual contexts, they maintain psychological health while preserving ancestral wisdom. Their annual remembrance cycle creates a precise balance between remembering and forgetting, between honoring the past and remaining present-focused. This temporal discipline allows them to maintain psychological stability in environments that would drive modern humans to madness within weeks. The eighth revelation concerns their botanical mastery, which represents one of the most sophisticated natural science systems ever developed. They utilize approximately 500 different plant species for food, medicine, construction, tools, weapons, dyes, poisons, perfumes, hallucinogens, and spiritual purposes. This knowledge isn't simply memorized information. It represents a living relationship with plant consciousness that allows them to communicate directly with the botanical intelligence that governs forest ecosystems. They understand plants as conscious entities with distinct personalities, preferences, and spiritual powers. Their use of fish poison demonstrates this botanical mastery. They utilize 9 different vine species for stunning fish, understanding the precise chemical interactions that temporarily paralyze aquatic life without permanent harm. Groups of men, women, and children coordinate complex fishing expeditions that harvest protein while maintaining ecological balance. Wild honey represents another dimension of their botanical relationships. They harvest 15 different honey varieties, understanding the spiritual and nutritional properties of each type. This isn't simply food gathering. This is participation in the complex pollination networks that maintain forest fertility. But perhaps their most profound botanical knowledge involves their understanding of plant consciousness alteration. They use specific plant combinations to facilitate shamanic trance states, but these aren't recreational drugs. These are precision consciousness tools that allow human awareness to interface directly with plant intelligence networks. The ninth revelation involves their understanding of death as transformation rather than termination. Their endocannibalistic practices represent a sophisticated technology for consciousness preservation, that recognizes individual awareness as a transferable essence that can be integrated into collective community consciousness. When they consume the ashes of their deceased relatives, they're not engaged in primitive cannibalism. They're participating in an advanced spiritual technology that transforms individual death into collective immortality. The deceased person's consciousness becomes permanently integrated into the living community, continuing to provide guidance, protection, and wisdom for future generations. This practice reveals an understanding of consciousness that transcends individual mortality. They recognize that human awareness exists within a larger collective consciousness that can preserve individual essence beyond physical death. Their ash consumption rituals represent one of the most sophisticated consciousness preservation technologies ever developed. The 10th revelation concerns the existential threat facing these consciousness guardians. Cultural extinction probability analysis indicates that the Yanomami face imminent destruction from gold mining, deforestation, disease, and cultural contamination from outside contact. Their population has already been devastated by introduced diseases, malaria, smallpox, and tuberculosis, against which they have no natural immunity. Gold mining operations are destroying their forest environment while introducing violent conflicts that disrupt their traditional governance systems. But the most insidious threat is cultural contamination that undermines their spiritual practices and traditional knowledge systems. As younger generations are exposed to modern technology and Western education, they're losing connection to the ancestral wisdom that has sustained their communities for millennia. The loss of the Yanomami represents more than cultural extinction. It represents the death of alternative human consciousness that could provide crucial insights for our species' survival. Their understanding of death, their botanical knowledge, their environmental harmony, their social organization, these represent evolutionary adaptations that modern civilization desperately needs. Every day that passes without documenting and understanding their wisdom represents an irreversible loss to human potential. They possess consciousness technologies that could revolutionize medicine, psychology, ecology, and social organization if we could overcome our cultural arrogance and learn from their ancestral knowledge systems. Standing at the threshold between ancient wisdom and modern confusion, we face a choice that will determine our species' future. Will we allow these consciousness guardians to disappear into the silence of extinction, taking their profound understanding of life and death with them? Or will we recognize that their seemingly disturbing practice of consuming human ashes represents a sophisticated spiritual technology that could unlock secrets of consciousness preservation? The Yanomami don't eat their dead from primitive superstition. They consume ashes from profound love and advanced understanding of consciousness as a transferable essence that transcends individual mortality. Their ritual reveals truths about the nature of awareness, about the interconnectedness of all existence, about the possibility of consciousness preservation that modern science is only beginning to approach. As we stand witness to their potential extinction, we must ask ourselves, what other consciousness technologies are disappearing from human knowledge? What other wisdom traditions are being lost to the relentless advance of homogenized global culture? And most crucially, what aspects of human potential are we losing that we haven't even recognized yet? The Yanomami practice of consuming human ashes represents more than a curious anthropological anomaly. It represents a gateway to understanding consciousness itself as a preservable, transferable essence that connects all human awareness across the barriers of individual death. Their ancient secret isn't hidden from the world. It's hidden within a depth of wisdom that our surface-level understanding of reality cannot penetrate. Perhaps the real question isn't why they consume the ashes of their dead, but why we bury our deceased in the ground, severing all connection to their accumulated wisdom and allowing their consciousness to dissipate into the void. Maybe they're not the primitive ones after all. The forest whispers are growing fainter. The ancient voices are falling silent. And we stand at the edge of losing forever the most profound understanding of life, death, and consciousness preservation that human beings have ever achieved. Time is running out. The choice is ours. Will we listen